And a very good morning to you. This is the Talk of the Town. For this morning's edition of Talk of the Town, we spoke to SJB economics spokesperson, is the best way of describing Dr. Harsha de Silva. And Dr. Harsha de Silva spoke about a potential looming crisis in terms of the domestic debt restructuring or optimization, as he calls it, especially when it comes to the EPF-ETF funds.
The government has said, look, the debt treatment is only going to be on the central bank's holdings in treasury bills.
Right.
Which means they will have to deal with it somehow. The way we see it is, instead of the treasury bills, they will be transformed into treasury bonds and the tenor extended, perhaps beyond 2032, and they will deal with it internally with the central bank. There can be an issue where central bank will have negative equity, but there have been countries that have gone through such periods. The only issue is the central bank will not be able to transfer profits to the treasury. Leave that aside. Now you look at the treasury bonds, what happens there is there's been a proposal made, as far as we understand, to the three state banks thus far. And the proposal is, look, we will give you a new series of bonds going beyond 2032, right, with a reduced coupon, right? No face value haircut, but once you work out the net present value of those bonds, there is going to be a relief that is coming to the government.
Right.
Right. So when that happens, the banks will see a reduction in their assets. There are two main assets. One asset, a group of assets, the treasury bonds. Right. So if there is debt treatment on those bonds, the value of those bonds, the assets will decline. And the other major asset they have, obviously, are the loans they are given to various people. So with the economy contracting, the NPLs are increasing, and therefore, when the value of these assets fall and the liabilities remain the same, there is going to be a fall in shareholder equity. Therefore, you're going to have problems with what is called capital adequacy minimum ratios. And then the government will either have to bring in a new capital, or else somebody else will have to fill that gap.
Right.
We can talk about that later. But there is going to be some sort of cost that is going to be incurred by these banks. So the point is, with increasing debt treatment, whether it is a face value haircut or whatever else it is, whichever combination, the capital shortfall is going to increase, and there is something called the net debt relief. Right? For us, what it means is, as the treatment, the amount of relief that is obtained by the government increases, these banks will at some point, the cost will exceed the benefit. So that is why there is something called, like I said earlier, the net debt relief, which increases to a point, and if you continue to increase the debt treatment on the banks, it will begin to come down. So that the debt relief that the government is going to obtain will increase and then fall. And that if you continue to increase the debt treatment, it might even become negative. Right? So the issue is not only for the EPF, like I explained to you earlier, but also for the banks, there will be repercussions. So the concern is, how are we going to manage this?
And that's the way it was on the Talk of the Town this morning. Remember, folks, that this evening on TV1 at 8 p.m. we have on Newsline the IMF talking about what's all on our minds. That's tonight on TV1 Newsline.